時間なんて気にしない気分は最高だけどびっくり世界が
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 2 of The Spy Who Loved Megaranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Denji Sentai Megaranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, all things considered. You know, I was listening, did we check that there aren't any other Megaranger podcasts? I know that we do always say that we're the only one, and we never actually confirmed that that's true before we start saying it. It's always been true.
Sure.
But we didn't
Dave,
actually, at no point have we investigated the veracity of this statement.
Dave, I don't like to let that many things from outside of the show be part of the show, and so I don't, I just choose not to acknowledge that there are other podcasts that might exist about it. I found out later there actually was another Jetman show, I think.
Was there really?
I don't know if it was happening at the same time, but I have heard that there was another, was another Jetman thing. But that doesn't matter, because we were, and still are, the best and only podcast. You can just, honestly, full stop. Best and only podcast.
We're done. That's
right.
it.
This is the one. I'm sorry, folks. There used to be other podcasts.
Now
this
I just
is the
punched
one.
in real fast, Megaranger podcast, and I'm going down. There have been a handful of people who mentioned it, and then I saw something, and it said The Spy Who Loved Megaranger, and I had like a moment of like a real intense freak out.
And then you realized it was us?
And then I did realize, of course, that was just us. So that's fine.
Nobody else could have that cool name, Dave. Come on. No, nothing but a couple of cool guys with fun ideas. It's like back when our 5-star open segment was officially award-winning because we kept buying trophies for each other.
Yeah, why did we stop? I think we just kind of fell off doing that.
No, Dave, I will tell you why we stopped doing it. We stopped doing it because after 3 years of saying it was officially award-winning, one of us suggested that we should open up the idea that other people could potentially win the award.
Oh, yeah, and we asked for submissions.
And then we asked for
people
submissions.
did send
and then
stuff.
We got submissions. And then I looked at those submissions and I was like, I don't know. I feel like turning this into a joke is a lot of work. But then we never got around to adding it back to the beginning of the show.
Good point.
You know what? Maybe this is the year we bring it back, Dave. Award ceremony right now.
Well, we would... Okay, Matt, I love the energy that you're bringing. We should listen to the other submissions first, I feel like. Or re-listen to them. We did listen to them, and then we never turned it into a joke.
Okay, no, wait. Here. Hold on. Gonna take a quick pause for the cause. Gonna listen to all of those opening segments and weigh their merits. Give me just a second. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, ours is the best.
Okay, killer, Matt.
So congratulations, Dave. Speaking of which, before we get into episode 2 of Denji Sentai Megaranger, called Look, Our Galaxy Mega, Shining in the Heavens, as always, is our officially award-winning opening segment. Feels good to say it again.
It does feel good to say it again,
award-winning
Matt.
opening segment. Dave, Shining in the Heavens, there are 5 stars. What is our first star of the week?
So our first star of the week, Matt, is Isolation Update. Isolation Update. So, Matt, how's that old shelter in place treating you, buddy?
Oh man, it's I'm sheltering. I am in place.
Yeah. Good.
How's it going over there?
Things are good. It's cool.
Everything's great.
Yeah. So here's a fun thing. Here's a real fun thing is that Passover is coming up and it starts Wednesday night. And so we got to just clean the whole house.
Did that one sneak past you with everything going on?
Yeah, man. Just the whole ding-dang thing has got to be cleaned before Wednesday night. So that's rad.
Hey, you know, it's good to be able to have goals during this time where you're stuck at home, you know?
Yeah, it is. Okay, listen. As I said, kind of last week, you know, thankfully everybody here is actually, we're all in good health, and you know, there's a lot of people that have a lot worse. So I did have two thoughts. These are real thoughts, Matt. These aren't joke thoughts.
Okay.
So here are the two thoughts that
I'm
I
open
had.
to them.
No. I know. So the first thought is, listen, and on one hand, I was thinking about us. I've been thinking about, what are we, Matt?
What, like you and
Just
I?
what are we gonna put a name on this? What? Anyway, sorry.
Brothers. Super Sentai Brothers.
Oh, right.
We put a name on it.
Good.
This is the
Thank you.
sixth season.
There actually is a name for this. So here are the things I thought of. I was thinking about the show and I was like, man, in the face of all of this craziness, it seems a little silly to still be talking about Denji Sentai Megaranger. And then on the other hand, I thought, you know what, man? There is a lot of bad things happening. And if it's going to help you out, I mean, it helps us out to have something to do. And if it helps you out to listen to us babble on like a couple of dinguses about funny dinguses.
Oh, of course.
Now,
here's the
about
thing, Dave.
Megaranger
People are
for
doing
an hour.
People are doing a lot more cooking these days, which means they need to do a lot more dishwashing, which means they have
That's
more
true.
podcast time.
They do have more podcast time.
And
so
frankly,
I thought,
Dave, I've been listening to so many podcasts that I genuinely don't know if the statement I just said is original to me or if I'm repeating something that I heard in a different podcast earlier this week. And that's just the truth.
So, yeah, man. So I don't know if we can help out for an hour. Then that's, I don't know. I feels like a worthwhile thing to do. And then the second thing I thought of is this, because I did mention, like, you know, we do have it a lot better than a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, relatively speaking, our lives are fairly unaffected. And we're very thankful for that. But you know what? The things are still in some ways a bummer. And I remembered something, and this was so helpful to me to think about. It was something that our buddy Josh mentioned to me once. It's his stories to get into. I'm not going to get into it, but Josh has had some hard times. And I was talking to him once, and I was dealing with something tough, and I was like, oh man, you know, I feel bad even kind of telling you this, because in the face of the hard times that you've had, it feels like my tough thing isn't really that tough. And Josh said something, it was one of the wisest things I think anybody's ever said to me. He said, hey man, your 10 is your 10. Like, a crummier thing happening to somebody else doesn't mean the crummy thing that is happening to you isn't crummy. So I think that we have like a tendency to be like, well, other people have it worse. So like, I really shouldn't complain. And I just wanted to say, like, listen, man, things are rough. You're allowed to be bummed out about it. Like, you have the freedom to be bummed out about that, even though other people may have it worse, Dave, than you do.
I appreciate you sharing that, because right now I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to complain about something very small, and I'm glad that you have opened up the door for me to be able to do that.
I'm opening up the floodgates, Matt. This is a service I'm here to provide.
Dave. Okay, so you know everyone's doing like isolation cooking and baking.
Yeah, for sure. Save your bones, make stock, freeze the fat. Go ahead.
So
you don't have to freeze it. You can just put it in the fridge.
For a while, sure. So I'm getting in on that a bit myself. You know, I don't do that much cooking at home, but I've got a well-stocked kitchen. I am right.
You've got an instant pot.
Sure, I'm a decent.
You've got another pot.
Sure,
you have at least 2 pots.
I have 2 pots. One of them is instant. The other one is manual. Anyway, I was looking around my cupboards, and I'm like, man, what do I have that I can do something interesting with? And I realized that I had bought a thing of masa harina, some months ago for like a chili recipe, and I never used it for I used like 2 tablespoons.
Oh, the Mexican like corn flour, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And I was like, man, I could get it. I could be a guy who makes his own tortillas. That could be my new thing.
You could.
So I ordered a tortilla press. And it arrived, and I was very excited about this.
Real quickly, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, Matt. You did also order a banjo, did you not?
Well, Dave, the banjo hasn't arrived yet, and I'm saving that for next week's isolation update.
Oh, I'm sorry. Matt, I feel like, a tortilla press, all right. A banjo, all right. A tortilla press and a banjo within a week of each other? We walking down a dangerous road, my friend.
Dave, listen, I
don't know what's at the end of that road.
Neither do I, but we're gonna find out together. This is
That's
a
my
journal
concern.
of our experience.
Listen, Matt, if you need to come live with me to stave off isolation madness, you can do that,
Dave,
man.
you say that now, but you know I would bring the banjo, and you don't want that.
I do. The kids love a banjo. Everyone loves a banjo.
Well, we'll find out how my neighbors feel about a banjo. But that's for next week's isolation update. No, I got this tortilla press, and I was excited for days, like waiting for it. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do it. Like, it's literally just like masa harina, water, and a little bit of salt, and then you make them, and it's like that is all, right? Like I'm not a great cook, but even I can't mess that up. Well, Dave, I messed it up so bad. I messed it up in ways that I did not know were possible. And the thing is, like, having never done it before, like, I just didn't know how it was supposed to look or feel. So I was just, like, kind of looking at some numbers and guessing at some stuff. Because it said use between 1.5 to 2 cups of water. And I basically, what ended up happening is I made the dough too wet. And so I would put it in the press. And then when I opened the press up, it was just like glued to the little plastic sheets that I put in there. Like there was no way to remove it from there. And then I tried again and again, and I could never get the plastic things clean, and so I could never it just each time got progressively gluier and more difficult until I just threw the whole thing away. And I realized like an hour later, all I had to do was just add some more dry masa to it to thin it out a little bit. But at that point, I was already I was already broken.
That experiment. But you can go back again, Matt. This is
the final bit is that I did do it again over the weekend, and it turned out great.
Ah, what a delightful end to that story, Matt.
Yeah, so I did it again, and this morning I put a fried egg on a taco shell, and it was great.
That feels real excellent.
Yeah, a little sriracha on. No, not sriracha. I had some different hot sauce. I gotta get more hot sauces. Okay, no.
Oh, dude, you're talking to the guy, man. I love hot sauce.
Well, here's
I got a whole shelf in my refrigerator.
I know. The problem is, Dave, is that now I'm just thinking about things that I can acquire to distract me from being at home too much, and I can't become hot sauce guy on top of tortilla press guy and banjo guy.
Yeah, that is a dangerous road that you're treading there.
Anyway, Dave, what is our second star of the week?
So, our second star of the week, Matt, is a little bit of a weird one. It's, as we record this, it's April the 6th. You'll be hearing it probably on April the 7th or maybe 8th. I don't know how busy producer Mark is. The world's topsy-turvy. Everything is strange. Anyways, so April Fool's was last week. And, silver linings, everybody sort of collectively agreed that this year we were skipping April Fool's. And that's great, because April Fool's sucks and does the worst.
Yes, generally speaking, April Fool's is bad.
But what it does mean is that in the midst of all this craziness, you and I totally forgot to do our April Fool's episode.
Yes, we've been doing April Fool's. I think we've done 2 in a row, right?
Yeah,
this would have been our third. Where we make up a Sentai series, and we do an episode about it as though we had watched a TV show that does not exist.
Yeah.
And
so anyways.
Yeah, and I realized that we had missed it, and I was really disappointed. Not because it's like it has to be an April Fool's thing, but that's sort of when we first started doing it. And I really enjoyed the times that we've done that together.
They are really fun. So anyways, we did forget to do it. If you hear, which means, of course, that if you hear any weird and crazy episodes coming up in the next handful of weeks, they're totally and completely real.
Right, because we would only, we wouldn't want to break with tradition and doing them on April Fools.
Yeah, no, certainly not. We are without tradition, Matt. What are we?
We're not May Fools.
Better than animals.
Come on now.
So,
did I look like a June Fool to you?
What is our third star of the week?
A third star of the week is that this past weekend was the Showcase of the Immortals, Dave.
WrestleMania was this
the
weekend.
The grandest stage of them all. Except that, of course, this year it was a little weird because they did still do WrestleMania, but they did it without an audience because obviously people aren't filling stadiums right now for any reason.
Yeah. Man, I'm not going to lie. That sounds like a fever dream.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Like watching WrestleMania, but with it seems like bizarre French theater.
Okay, it is.
The idea of watching
wild.
WrestleMania with nobody watching.
Watching wrestling without a crowd, the stuff that they're doing is still good, but there's no like, there's an energy that's not there.
Yeah, no, this absolutely sounds like avant-garde French theater.
Well, here's the thing.
Some
of the matches...
Sorry.
Cinema. Some of the matches were just like regular old wrestling matches, or, some of them were good, some of them were bad. But like without anybody there, like the wrestlers would come out, and the things that they do when they come out, like the motions that they take and the poses that they do, and like their entrances and stuff, and like their, like the things that they say are all like hardwired into them to like go out to the crowd.
Right.
There's no crowd.
Were they doing like imaginary high fives as they came down the ramp? Like,
no, but like they would come down and get in the ring and like preen as though there were people there to appreciate it. Or like they would be in the middle of the match and like throw somebody over the top rope and then turn and like throw their arms out wide as though people were going to applaud them.
Dude, that sounds so strange.
It was wild. And that was just the...
Did they put in... Hold up. Did they try to
match.
do like
now,
a special effects? Like, did they put in like more music or crowd noises or something? Or was it literally just dudes wrestling in silence to an empty stadium?
Yeah, that was it. Okay, so here's the thing.
Dude, I've got to find some clips of this.
There were two regular nights of
strange.
wrestling. They split it up into 2 nights. Most of the matches, like I said, like they were weird in that way, but they were actual like matches in the ring.
Okay.
Also, it's weird because like you could hear the people talking to each other in the middle of the match.
Okay.
Where normally you only sort of see them shouting at each other. You actually got to hear what they were saying to each other, which is very weird. But
okay,
each night had a pre-taped like film version of a wrestling match, and those are the real highlight.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I will definitely take some time in trying to find that.
Okay, Dave, so what is our 4th star of the week?
So this is a very quick one. This is just like, dude, nothing's happening, man. I'm just talking about like TV I watched. I say that as though we don't regularly talk about TV I watched. Anyways, Beth and I just finished a season of this show, and it's called Britain's Best Home Cook, or just Best Home Cook, but if you're in America, you would find it under Britain's, I guess. It's on Hulu. Anyways, the point is this. It's a great show. It's super chill, as most like British, competition shows tend to be. There was another one about pottery that we just watched, which was very nice. Mm-hmm. But the wild thing about Britain's Best Home Cook is it is exactly the format of MasterChef.
Okay.
If you've ever seen MasterChef, like in the sense that like the number of challenges is the same, and like everybody does one, and then there's sort of like a surprise one, and then there's like an elimination one, and then somebody like has to go home. And what struck me about it that was really wild is that it's literally the exact same format, except it's just like,
it's nice.
It's so nice. Like, it's so extraordinarily chill. Everybody is like, I just turned to Beth and I was like, there was a guy that was on some American TV show, and he rather famously said like, listen, I'm here to win. I'm not here to make friends. But then you watch the British version, and everybody says, like, the best part about all this is the friends you make. Like, I'm absolutely here to make friends. That's the best part. Like, the winner of the show, there was not even like everyone comes back, and, like, your friends and family are here to see who wins. It's literally just, like, the 3 finalists and the judges, and they're like, you won! Here's a bouquet of flowers. And then there's, like, 2 or 3 minutes of wrap-up interviews with the 6 people that were in the room, and that was it. Like, it was so incredibly downplayed and relaxed. It was just I recommend it. It was a great show. What, Matt, is our 5th star of the week?
Dave, our 5th star of the week, speaking of relaxing things, of like pieces of media, I got that Animal Crossing game.
I hear very good things about Animal Crossing. I've never played one.
Okay, neither had I. And so I was a little skeptical because I'm like, listen, it looks like you're just a little cartoon boy and you run around an island and like you talk to your new friend who is a rabbit and then you like collect rocks and turn those rocks into a thing. And the thing is that actually is kind of the whole game so far, at least. But
Okay.
it is a game. It's a very nice game. The background music is astonishingly chill. I tried to find the pause button, and there's no pause button because there's no threats in this. There are no threats in the game.
Oh, like what would you be pausing for?
Like
nothing.
there's
Everything's
no
fine.
timer, and there are no threats. So like you can just stop and walk away, but there's nothing to like. There's no action to pause. You make a little house and you fill it with nice things and you set up your town and you welcome new people to it. And what's nice is that in the game you can like walk around and go up to the beach and then go visit your friends' islands and say hello to them. And it's very nice because those are things I can't do. It's been very nice to just like hang out and chill in this like relaxing animal world. Highly recommended.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
You know what else is highly recommended, Dave?
I got an idea.
It's episode 2 of Denji Sentai Megaranger.
Oh, dang, I was right.
It's called Look, Our Galaxy Mega. It was written by Junki Takagami. Its original air date, February 21st, 1997. You can watch along on shoutfactory.tv, or you can buy the DVDs from that same company. And I recommend that you do one of those two things, because guys, I think Megaranger is very good.
Yeah, I think Megaranger is extremely, extremely good.
I'm trying to watch ahead a little bit, and so I have actually already watched next week's episode, and I gotta tell you, I'm excited to talk about this one today. I'm very excited to talk about that one next week. But we will do that next week when we do that episode. But now we're going to talk about this episode, which we're going to do right now, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. As previously mentioned, Megaranger rules.
Yeah, this is very, very good.
So this episode picks up right where the last one left off. They have flown into space, escaping the destruction of the Nasada base, and they're on a shuttle flying into orbit.
Yeah. So one of the things that we are going to get from over the course of this episode, and I really, really dig it, is that the Rangers in this one are high school students.
Yes.
Right? And like the Rangers generally age somewhere between like high school and no older than presumably like their, I don't know, mid-20s. I think. I feel like O-Ranger had like the sort of oldest vibe, and even they did not seem like terribly old.
Yeah, you'll get people who are like
But-
mid-20s.
Yeah. So anyways, but one of the things that I really dig about this is that they're high school students, and they do a really excellent job. Like they have a very high school energy, and they are not prepared for this at all. And the actors are doing a killer job of portraying the sort of like wild and crazy excitement of teenagers kind of being thrust into this situation. So there were two things real quickly that I wanted to mention from the opener. And the one is that I didn't notice this last week, but there is a guy at the beginning who says like, da-da-da-da-da, Megaranger. And he super duper sounds like an opening from like a 1997 video game. So I just thought that was a great touch. Like, and I didn't notice it last week. And then the other thing I was going to mention is I feel like this will become relevant later, is that in the retrospective for last week's episode, they mentioned that the organization that they're part of, the Megarangers is called INET. And I know I was a little confused about it last week because the sign in the front said like Nasada or
Nasada.
It wasn't
yeah.
Nasada. But that's like a cover. The real thing is INET. So if we reference INET, that's
the thing is that I don't know what Nasada is now, because I assumed that was the name of the organization, but maybe that was just the name of the base.
I get the impression that maybe Nasada was like a real thing that they were maybe using as like a cover.
I don't know. I mean,
right.
I'll tell you what. Let's pay attention. If people ever mention Nasada again, then it is important. Otherwise,
then we'll know. But Yeah, but INET is the organization. So they're on this shuttle, Matt said they're on the shuttle up in space, and the Rangers are just walking around. It's like, so what's up with all this, though? This is wild and crazy. Like, we crushed it. Like, we did a great job.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like, we beat that monster. Dr.
Kabuto is talking to the people who are on the shuttle, like the shuttle team. They're wandering around the shuttle, and then the megaship is the thing that we actually saw in the very beginning of the previous episode.
Yeah.
And it is their frontline base. It is the thing that Dr. Kubota has been like working on this whole time. Like that plus Megaranger is like his main project.
So this is a little bit of a digression, Matt, but when I saw that, first of all, it's a very, very cool looking ship. And have you seen, it's been floating around the internet, it's a great article, it's on Jalopnik actually, and the writer is a dude named Jason Torchinsky, great, and he wrote this article, and he said, listen, you can tell if a show has spaceships, you can automatically tell what kind of show it's going to be based on what the main ship looks like.
Okay.
And there are class 0, there's 8 classes, class 0 through 7, and class 4 is lots of detail, but anything goes. And it just reads, if you see spacecraft covered with complex plumbing and parts and probes and whatevers, but wildly varying in size and design, expect a space opera kind of ride with plenty of technobabble, but little coherent theory behind how anything works. It's all just techno magic. And I saw this and I thought of the article to go to look it up. And I was like, yep, that is exactly correct.
Yep, that seems pretty on track. So the shuttle does this sort of like complicated docking maneuver where it like flips around so it's floating towards the megaship in reverse. And then the megaship's like nose pops open into like it splits in half and the shuttle just kind of like slides in like a bit like parallel parks sort of. It's weird.
It's a really, again, I know we mentioned this last week, but like it's a really slick model.
Anyway.
So we get that black dude who is inexplicably speaking with a Japanese accent again. The people are kind of crowding around. The teenagers aren't there. The Rangers, that is, they're not there. They're kind of in and about, but they're not there in this moment.
Yeah, like they walked over to look out the window.
Yeah, they're talking to Dr. Kubota, and they're like, hey, Dr. Kubota, this maybe is a bad idea, though? And he says, well, listen, man, kind of good. He doesn't say good idea or bad idea. It's like, listen, once you wear the suit, it like hard codes to your DNA, and we do not have time to make another one. So,
right, and his second in command is like, yeah, but they are high school kids. And Kubota, Kubota, in a moment of like really truly great like forced optimism, Kubota says like, yes, well, we're just going to have to trust in their youth and potential. Yeah, it's like, listen, man, I don't know why we're still talking about this. Like, there are no other options. Like, they're already the Mega Rangers, so like you can see it in his eyes. It's like there's no reason to keep discussing this. Like, right. The decision has already been made. Like, if we hadn't already done it, then we would have all blown up on Earth, and now they're the Mega Rangers, so deal with it.
Yeah, so they're kind of like, the Rangers are out at like this viewing port, and they're kind of like losing their minds, very reasonably so. Like, yeah, it's very cool.
Frankly, they're not losing their minds enough.
Yeah, well, they're very cool. They're very on top of it. That's why they're going to make great Mega Rangers, Matt. But there is a little back and forth between them. They're like, are we really, so we're superheroes now, like, definitely.
Can we actually pull this off? And I think that's very cool because they use this scene to, not for all the characters, but I feel as though they do a lot of character development work just in this conversation.
Yeah, they do. Koichiro, who is Mega Black, he is definitely the most kind of serious among them.
He's the most serious, but it also seems like he's the most, like, pure-hearted and altruistic a little bit.
I can see that. I felt like he gave off, like, a very determined vibe. He's like, I'm a little apprehensive about this, but, like, I'm also determined to, like, do the right thing.
Yeah, he says, like, listen, there are bad people, there are good people in the world, but there are also bad people in the world, and we need to be there to, like, deal with the bad people. Like, we can do this. And the Pink Ranger, what's her name?
Miku.
Is like, man, I don't know. Like, can we really, though? And the blue... Shun, the Blue Ranger, I love. Because Shun is like... Shun is a jerk. Shun is a guy who is very smart and, like, does not have people skills and thinks that he's above everybody else. Okay, so Kenta says, well, listen, I've always been a free spirit. I think if we all try our best, then it'll be great. And Shun just immediately is like, oh my gosh, like, this guy is too much. I should have picked my friends better. What have I gotten myself into?
You're clearly a moron. So as they're discussing this, there's this great holograph cube of Dr. Kubota, and he's like, you guys have got to come back to the bridge right now. So they go back to the bridge. We get that dude with his accent again. I'm loving it. And what we hear is that Nezare power is increasing. And what they actually mean by that, I think, is that there's a spike of Nezare power, and we've sort of managed to locate it.
Right.
Okay.
And what that means is that as the Nezare people are from a different dimension, and when they encroach upon our dimension, we have sensors to see when and where it's going to happen by monitoring the energy that comes off of that dimension. Like you said, total psychopath. It is happening. It is happening in Japan. It is happening at this one particular town.
Right. And Kenta's, so we do get a quick thing. Dr. Kubota says, listen, your suits are all programmed. And he kind of goes through you're a satellite or a digital phone or whatever. And he says, Mega Red, this I think is going to be key.
Dave, it's not just a digital cell phone. It is a digital cell phone that is, I wrote this down because he was very specific to say it has been programmed with all of the best available abilities. I don't know what those cell phone abilities were in 1997.
Making phone calls, I think.
All of the best ones. All of the best abilities.
You could download MIDI files of your favorite songs.
Ringtones, yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe you could play Snake.
Mega Red... Kenta, he says, well, what special ability does my suit have? And he says, your suit does not have a special ability. And Kenta's like, no. And then he says, listen, your thing is that you're a PC, so you can kind of get programmed with whatever we need. You're an all-purpose warrior. And Kenta's like, oh, okay, well, that's actually pretty rad.
Yeah.
And then they dig on Kenta again.
Yeah, he says it's rad. But then Shun says, yeah, that would be rad if you knew anything about programming. You break out into hives whenever you see a keyboard. You're an idiot.
Then Kenta's like, hey.
And those two start fighting. Kyoichiro steps in between them to act as a peacemaker. And then they're like, okay, now we have business to take care of here.
Yeah, character exposition handled. Let's go fight. So what we find out is that the incursion is not only in their hometown, it is centered on the arcade. Kenta's favorite arcade.
Yes.
And he's like, my little buddies, we gotta get down there. And he just runs for the door.
We are in space right now. You can't just run out the door.
And he's like, you gotta send me down right now. And then we cut away. So presumably he does. So we go from there and we get a little spot look into the Nezare base. And it's Dr. What's that dude's name again?
Hinalar.
Hinalar, thank you. There's Dr. Hinalar, and I should remember these bad guys' names.
I remember Ugande.
Yeah, there's Ugande and Hinalar and Shibolena, I think is her name. Yeah, Shibolena is the sort of not femme fatale, but yeah, she's there. Anyways, they're like, hey, we crushed it. We got in there. We destroyed their base.
Yeah, they are talking into some sort of difficult to perceive communication screen. They are talking to their leader, whose name is Javius the First.
Yes, and they're like, we destroyed the base. We're great. And then he's like, okay, good job. Go back and destroy Earth. And then all three are like, we'll do anything for you, Javius the First. And then they're gonna.
Well, the other two say yes, we will go succeed on your behalf. Ugande says, I will sacrifice my life for you. Which, like, Uganda, you're supposed to try to go down and win. Like,
I mean, I guess if that's
like,
what it takes, but like no one's asking you to do that.
Right. I'm just getting the vibe that Uganda is a bit extra.
Yeah.
So down on Earth, in the arcade, we see the telltale sign of Nezare energy coming in. A empty pop can twists itself up. Well, that's clearly weird. We should run screaming.
So they do freak out. So we get to see the Mega Rangers. Oh, the Mega Rangers are back in the game because like that's the game they're playing. We see the Mega Rangers there when they had disappeared before. So we can't go to the Rangers themselves, and Kenta's already gone. Like the other four are together, and Kenta is gone. And they're like, "Oh my gosh,
this guy."
He was here like 30 seconds ago. Where is this dude? Like, we need to stay together. And then so the ship kind of is like the evil ship is like flying around, and Dr. Hinelar announces, he's like, "Everyone on Earth, submit, or you will be twisted to death."
Gruesome.
Which is that's a terrifying threat. No one's ever threatened to twist me to death. And I'm disturbed by the implications.
We see this week's monster. It is Stingray Nezare, which is just like
it's not
an
a great
upright stingray dude with arms and legs. He is very much a first monster of the week. You know, like very basic proof of concept. Give you an idea of what the naming structure is going to be, and that's basically it.
Yeah, he does not. And you know the thing there is a cool way that you could have done like a stingray monster.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
They just didn't do that.
Yeah.
There was a cool mutant stingray thing in Ninja Turtles.
I literally just typed into the Google TMND stingray.
He might have been a manta ray now that I'm thinking about it.
He was a manta ray, but you know what? Yeah, he does look a lot cooler than Stingray Nezare. He looks pretty rad.
Manta rays are the coolest of all the rays.
Yeah, okay. That is definitely true. His name was Ray, by the way.
Sure, it was.
I assume short for Raymond. Anyways,
Manta Raymond.
So Kenta kind of like rolls up. He sees Stingray Nezare, and he's just like, "Hey, it's a very good opening. Like, it's really cool." He sort of like strides on and like throws his shoulders back and gives him a look, and is like, "Hey, jerk, like, you gotta stop." And then he like runs over and throws a punch and has zero superpowers. He is just a kid in high school trying to fight a terrifying space monster. Well,
he has not transformed.
Right. Oh yeah, he doesn't buy attention. He's just like, "Hey, it does not work at all."
Goes over, and then like Stingray Nezare seems very confused by this. He's like, "Why is this one kid trying to fight me? Like
I will kill him. That's not a problem.
There was just a moment ago, a policeman was trying to shoot me with bullets, and they didn't do anything. This kid is just trying to like kick me."
Yeah. And again, he's like, "I definitely will kill you. Like that's not a problem."
No. I know how to respond to this situation. I'm just surprised why it's happening. So Kenta is just getting himself like thrown around, like literally like thrown around with eye lasers, or like grappling him. The other four run up. They're like, "Okay, here he is. We found him. We found
our big dumb idiot.
We found our dumb leader."
Now, to their credit, while Kenta is getting beat up, basically, they do not try to get involved because they don't have superpowers, and they're the smart ones.
Right, these four are the smart kids.
Yeah,
Kenta has a big heart, but that's what he's got going for him.
So
he's great at video games.
Once the Stingray Nezare sort of like electro hurls Kenta at their feet, and they're sort of conveniently lined up. Then Kenta just sort of like pops up and is like, "All right, guys, ready to go." And then they all strike a really cool pose, and then there's like a very anticlimactic pause where they like flip open their things and they all have to punch in like 3, 3, 5, enter. And then the energy picks like right back up. It's like build, just drop to 0 for about 5 seconds and then ramp way straight back up.
Dave, I have a prediction, and it is this. By the end of the season, when the Mega Rangers pull out their Transformers or whatever they're called, they're going to do the thing, and they're going to flip it open, and they're going to press those numbers, and it's going to be like 3, 3, 5.
Like, now it's on.
Just remember this. Remember this conversation for our Mega Ranger wrap-up episode.
Remember this moment. So when they henshin, that's when the program, because a computer program can only be in one place at a time, Matt.
Sure.
So when they henshin, the Mega Ranger figures disappear from the game. So that's why they were back, is because the Rangers hadn't henshined.
Right, and when they transform, the Nezare, like Dr. Hinalar on his ship is like, wait a second, they just digitally transformed. I had no idea that humans had that sort of technological capabilities. This is weird. We are all having a weird day.
This is all, nobody's sure what's going on at this point.
Because I think what's interesting is that, like, in the previous episode, they had encountered the Mega Rangers, but they encountered them as the Mega Rangers. Like, they didn't know that they were transformed high school kids. They just...
Oh, yeah, no, that's a very good point.
You know?
Yeah, I hadn't put that together until you said it.
So, like, wait, that's what those things were?
Wild. So he's like, well, that's very cool that you have this technology. Still, though, Stingray, do twist them to death, please. So the fight actually goes very poorly for the Rangers at first. Like, they're just not prepared for this. He just sort of does like a line punch and sort of like knocks all of them out in a row. And then I think it is Kuichiru says, like, we need to combine as one. And then Kenta's like, yes, we need to, like, the power of 5. He doesn't say the power of 5, but he's like...
And then Shun says, what are you talking about? What does that mean?
Which is very reasonable, because they're all, like, throwing this out. Dr. Kubota has explained none of this to them. They just say, combination program, and they all... Here is the only thing I can think of. Kenta says we need to use our combination program. He's the PC. So maybe he's got some sort of like heads-up display in his helmet. And remember, the suits are pre-programmed. So maybe all he has to do is like select combination program and the suits know what to do, even if the human pilots are clueless. So the Chisato Mega Yellow is the camera. And so she does this camera flash, and it's the same as last episode.
Sure, she teleports all 5 of them into a digital dimension of, like... It's a digital hell dimension, I think. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Yeah, I think that's very
much the vibe that I get. And so they...
much like
they throw some punches. Stingray, like, flies around a little bit. Mega Black, like, catches him mid, like, flying swoop. I think they get the idea that, like, Stingray can fly because he's got those wing things, forgetting that stingrays are fish, but whatever.
Sure. I mean, this guy can also walk, too. So, you know, there's a lot of things that are different between him and a regular stingray.
Fair enough. And so Mega Black just sort of, like, catches him and then does, like, a throwy twist, and that's very neat. And then this is where we get to see what weapons they have.
Yes, they all summon their... Like, they go into their, like, in-helmet menu options and select their super weapons. So as we saw in the previous episode, Mega Red has a drill saber, which is a sword that is also a drill.
Yeah. Mega Black it's called the Mega Rod, and it's like a polearm with like a 2 points out kind of crescent moon blade thing at the end of it. There's a name for this. This is like a classic, I think, like Chinese martial arts weapon, but I don't know the name of it. Yeah, Mega Yellow has I think it's supposed to be a slingshot, but it just seems to be like a laser blaster. I don't know. It's weird. And then Pink it's called Pink Capture. It's some sort of like satellite dish. It just seems to be a blaster. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later that it has additional capabilities. So they kind of they all use their weapons and they fight. And Stingray goes down in the Digiverse. And then they sort of transport back to the main world, the real world, IRL. That seems appropriate to say IRL. And the Rangers do a very cool slow walk towards him. And he stands up and he's like, I'm at a disadvantage on Earth. And then he flies, like, he does like a flying swoop past them and then just like flies away. So I'm not sure if he means like on Earth, like on Terra, or on Earth, like standing on the ground. But in either case, he's gone.
Yeah. So he's flying away, and Kenta shouts up to Dr. Kubota and says, hey, that dude is flying away. Do we have any, like, tools that we can use to chase them?
Oh my gosh, do they ever? Yes,
And
they
do.
They very much do.
Boy, do they.
Oh my gosh. So Dr. Kubota says, all right, send down the cyber sliders. They're like cyber sliders. And what the cyber sliders are like rocket surfboards.
Yes, they are flying rocket surfboards.
Dude, it's amazing. I think it might just be because I really like the Silver Surfer, but I have anybody who rides a rocket. I love the concept of rocket surfboard. Like, flying surfboard is extremely, extremely good. It's extremely good, and I love it.
Okay, here's how it gets better, though. They're chasing him through the city. And then... Okay. This is very difficult to sort of wrap my head around. Because it seems like what happens is they are flying through the physical space of the city. And then they go into like a warp tunnel.
Yeah.
But that warp tunnel, I can't tell if that's something to do with the Nezare dimension or if they are literally surfing through cyberspace on their way out to space.
Yeah, it's really unclear. It does seem to be some sort of like teleport, because they break Atmo like super fast. They're in this tunnel for like 15 seconds or something, and then they're already in like far Earth orbit. So
yeah, it's a little tricky to figure out what's happening, right? Because okay, so they're on these surfboards and they're flying through space or cyberspace or whatever it is, and they're shifting back and forth very quickly, and you're getting like a bunch of different camera angles on them. But it's not super clear what is happening because, and I think the reason it's blurry is that it's 1997 and they're doing like CGI stuff to have these superheroes on flying rocket ship surfboards, like flying around and like doing like weird camera cuts. And it's very blurry, I think, because you kind of need to blur it to make it look like it's not 1997 CGI.
yeah, but they do a real good job of covering.
Oh, sure.
Like,
it looks great.
Very,
it's
very
just
satisfying.
a little unclear as to what's actually happening.
Yeah. So now they're out in space. So that's pretty wild. Stingray gets out to that like Sphinx base that the Nezare have. Oh, their name as a group are the Nezuregiae. Is that it?
Oh, gosh. I have it written down on my notes from last episode. It's something like that. Yeah.
Nezuregia. That's it. Nezuregia.
Yes.
So they get out to like the Nezuregia ship, and he's like, Dr. Hinelar is just like, you idiots. I have like ship class weaponry on this thing. And he just starts like shooting them with extremely powerful laser blasts. They're like, oh no. And then there's like a teleport recall function that Dr. Kubota has. So they all like turn into blips of light and teleport back to Mega Base.
Which is a base.
Mega ship, sorry.
Then Dr. Hinelar looks over and he's like, oh, they have a ship too. Crap.
Like, oh dang. I feel like he's suitably impressed. It's very cool. So he's blasting their ship. There's some very cool, like energy shield CGI. It looks real neat. And then
Mega ship fires back with its own particle cannons.
Mega particle cannon, Matt.
Mega particle cannon, I'm sorry.
It was extremely good. And then they say like, all right, transformation, which I thought was extremely fast. I did not think that we were going to get a giant robot in episode 2.
Well,
but we got one.
It's reasonable for you to assume that you wouldn't get it in episode 2 because we have not been introduced to 5 individual robots.
Yeah.
And so you thought that had to happen before they got a giant robot. But Dave, apparently that is not true.
Yeah. This is pretty wild. It's not a combination robot. It is just the mega ship just transforms into, it's called Galaxy Mega. And dude, Galaxy Mega rules.
Oh, Galaxy Mega is extremely dope. So the main body of Mega Ship becomes the like torso, arms, and legs of Galaxy Mega, and the shuttle that they had flown up to space on transforms into like the head cockpit thing. And what I love about the head is that it's got the sort of like original Power Rangers Megazord mouth, or like the Optimus Prime mouth.
The Optimus Prime mouth, yeah.
It looks very good.
Dude, it's very cool. I should also be noted that Galaxy Mega puts off an extremely strong Voltron vibe.
Yes. Well, I think a lot of the reason it puts off that vibe is because it's flying in space, which is
Yeah,
not something we usually get.
We don't, and it makes the choreography really, really cool because it's not like a giant robot like tromping around. It's floating in space, and they really do an amazing job of making it look very like fluid and floaty, and it's kind of just like hovering there and spinning around. It's got like jet thrusters on it to maneuver it, and then it busts out its power, which is called the Mega Saber, unsurprisingly. Yeah, dude.
But yeah, like the way that it charges towards the enemy spaceship to attack it, like it can't run. It just has a bunch of thrusters on its back. It's extremely cool. I like Galaxy Mega a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, they cut the ship in half. It's very good.
Yeah, they cut the ship in half, and then that's it.
They I guess they don't go back to base. They walk downstairs into the rest of the base robot, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we did it. It's cool. Megaranger win, just like in that video game that we all play." And the thing is, the thing that I really like about this is that at this point, they just think that they won, and that there are not going
like everybody thinks that they won.
Right, like they at this point do not know that there are going to be more episodes of Megaranger. They're like, well, there was a threat, we became superheroes, we defeated the threat, good for us, like great job. Now we need to like get back to high school.
And at first, even Dr. Kubota is like, gosh, well, that did seem to go super well. And they're like, hey, can we like keep these as souvenirs? Like, we had a great time, but like we do have a test to get back to. And Kent is like, wait, there's a test? And they're like, yeah, dude, you would know that if you didn't fall asleep in class all the time. He's like, I am not prepared for this, but it's okay because when I transform into Mega Red, like I'll have my PC powers and I'll be able to. Yeah, like you can't do that. That's deeply unethical. So then they get an alert that like, oh, like whoop whoop whoop, like Nezare energy is rising, and then Dr. Kubota says,
"There will be more episodes of this show." Effectively,
right. Our fight has only just begun.
And
then that's it.
Yeah, and that is it for the episode, Dave. But it is not it for our episode. Because
well, now, real quickly, are we assuming that Stingray is dead? We don't actually see him die. He flies back to the thing.
Okay.
I tell you what.
I don't know if he's dead, but I don't think we're going to see him again.
I was going to say, let's assume that this nerd is dead, and then if he shows up again, we can re-rank him if necessary.
Okay, so we're starting closer to the bottom of the list.
We're starting very close to the bottom. Like, he's not terrible, but he's... Okay, well, I don't know, man.
Okay, number 167 on the list is Jet Fighter Dimension. That was the first monster of the week from Jetman. And then
Baron
actually
String is 141.
Right below Jet Fighter Dimension is Bara Drill, which was the first monster of the week from O-Ranger.
He's no Baron String. Well, Baron String at least was around for 2 episodes. I think he's not as good as Jet Fighter Dimension.
Okay.
And he doesn't look as cool as Bara Drill. And he dies.
Let's see.
So, I mean, they all die, I guess. But I think he just goes underneath Bara Drill.
I think that's fair. I know this is not like a super deep discussion on this guy, but I think that's kind of all he deserves.
Yeah, listen, man. He was a weird Stingray man. He didn't look particularly... He didn't even look cool for a Stingray man.
Yeah, which is a real shame.
Yeah, they didn't even give him like a laser blast Stingray tail. Like nothing. He's just...
Right, he did have a tail, but he just swang it around and hit people.
Yeah,
with
it was dumb.
He didn't even twist anybody to death. It was his one thing. He had one job. A terrible job, a very upsetting job, but he only had one of them, and he didn't even do it. But Dave, that is going to do it for another episode of The Spy Who Loved Megaranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. You want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. If you want to rate, review on there, or subscribe, or tell a friend. Beginning of the new season, always a good time to tell a friend. Every week is a good time to tell a friend about the Super Sentai Brothers. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. If you'd like to listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.